Okay, so hello, welcome to this week's Bright Life Mindfulness class. Last week I looked at the mind and how to be with the mind, and we did the labeling and noting practice just to recognize thoughts as thoughts, and we did that by labeling them and then returning your attention to the breath. It's a really effective practice. It takes practice, but if you found it a bit difficult, don't worry. Today, I'm going to talk about the body, and the practice we'll do at the end of the day is much more relaxing. Okay, it's all about finding a sense of space and stillness within the body. So I hope you enjoy that. So why am I going to talk about the body? Well, it's a really important theme, both in meditation practice and in life, because the body is where you experience life. Your body is life, okay? And if we're not in it, well, then we miss it. We literally miss our own lives unfolding. So mindfulness then is not some kind of practice you do in your head, okay? It's for a full embodied experience of ourselves. And what we're going to do today is bring that awareness or attention down from the head and into the body, fully soaking back into this embodied experience that we have. Many people get interested in mindfulness and meditation because they want to live in the present moment. Okay, or if you've heard of the Eckhart Tolle book, The Power of Now, they want to live in the now or connect to the now. Because they don't want to live in their heads anymore, because the mind is constantly in the past, it's constantly in the future, and it drags us with it. So when we're in the past and the future, we're literally missing life happen. Living that way is a bit like eating the menu. There's no juice to it. There's no nourishment to eating the menu. Rather eat the food. Okay, and today the body, your felt experience is the food. We're going to drop into it, become aware of it. And so if you want to live in the present moment and have a direct experience of your own life, not the idea of your life, but your own fizzing, bubbling, pulsing experience of life, there is a shortcut. There is a shortcut. And the shortcut is remember your body. Remember your body. Come back to the body. Now, we talk a lot in mindfulness about anchors, using anchors to stay in our present moment experience. So we start with our breath often, focusing our attention into the sensations of breath, because your breath only happens now. It's not a concept. You don't have to think about breath. It's just here. So when we focus into it, we're here. So the breath, in a way, anchors you into your actual felt experience. But your whole body is made of sensation. In fact, your whole body is just a collection of shifting sensations. That's what you are right now on the chair. So actually, your whole body is the perfect anchor. It's the perfect way for you to be fully present in this moment. Okay. So in that sense, we're remembering. Actually, one translation of the word mindfulness is to remember. Now, that can be remembering to come back to the present moment, not living in the past or future, but also in a literal sense of remembering. So if you think of dismembering, it is to cut up or take apart. So we have a very dismembered experience. You know, it's not very whole. It's made of bits and pieces. We're divided up. To remember is to put back together. So that's also what we do. We put our attention into the body and thereby experience it as one thing, one experience, one flow, one embodied awareness. We remember the body. That's also how it heals, how our emotions and our attitudes and our perspectives heal. So the word healing means to make whole. Okay. And how do we make something whole? Well, we drop down into it and we sit with it and we breathe into it and we hold it in our awareness. We cease fighting back against it. And the more you do that, you merge with it, you merge into it. Just like an ice cube, if you put it on your hand, yes, it's uncomfortable because it's cold, but if you can just leave it there, okay, it melts. It melts. So the more we can sit with our present moment experience, the more the divisions and the barriers and the obstacles and blocks begin to melt. So we become whole again. We become one thing. We become fully embodied. Why do we need to do that? Well, one reason is because we begin our lives in that state. And as we get older, we lose it. So we began as babies and infants and toddlers, fully embodied. You know, you were your toes and you were your fingers. You were your feelings and emotions. It was all you. There's a lot of freedom there. You know, the emotions are allowed to flow freely. You can shout, you can cry. Okay, it's all felt. Because the mind hasn't really got going yet. So there's just a kind of space, and in that space, there's life. I know people that have spent years and years in therapy to get back to that place where they were as a child, where everything was allowed to be here and felt and expressed. What tends to happen is as we grow older, certainly into our teens, that expansive awareness of being the body starts to shrink, and it shrinks up into the head. And by the time we're teenagers, for most of us, we're the head. Okay, we completely identify now with that that noise, conceptual thought, past, present, future, me, you, should, shouldn't. Okay, and when we do that, because thinking is so strong and powerful and hypnotic, we tend to forget about the body. We don't remember it, we forget it. Okay, in the sense of being in the body and resting in the body, we kind of lose that. And I find that fascinating because we start so fully embodied with no mind, okay, just life. And then, 10, 11, 12 years later, we go to the opposite extreme where we're fully conceptualizing everything. We live in our heads and we've forgotten about the body. For many of us, especially in our culture, in first world cultures, we will live the rest of our lives in that state of thinking, concepts, past, future. Many of us will die in that state, locked into the head, thinking about everything, spending your life reading the menu. Now, for me, certainly there's a third phase, okay? And that third phase is the return, or the homecoming, the remembrance. And that's the point at which we realize that we're not meant to live in our heads. It's fun for a while, but after a while, it becomes poisonous, and we want a way out. We might think we want a way out of life. Really, we just want a way out of the head. And there is a way, because you once lived without it. So this is the return. Often there has to be a break, a snap, a breakdown maybe, for us to realize that we're not meant to live in our heads thinking about everything all the time. And you could think of a breakdown as almost a breakdown into the body. It's like the body pulls you down, back into it. So that's the third phase, is rediscovering the body, okay, and becoming embodied once more. And then we've got the best of both worlds, because we're once again embodied, but we can also think. We're still free to think, but we're just not completely identified with thought as who and what I am. We found out that there's this vast dimension of emotion and sensefulness and physicality. That's also us. Okay, there's a bigger sense of us when we incorporate the body. So, you know, when we live in the head, we can feel fairly numb and dead, and we feel like we've lost something, because in a way we have. We've lost the freshness and the aliveness of the body. And we might think, well, what do I need to do to feel alive again? I need to bungee jump. I need to swim with the sharks. I need to, you know, jump out of an aeroplane or something with a parachute. Yes, you know, those things are exhilarating, but there is an easier way. There's a much easier way. Okay, just drop back into the body right now. Touch, taste, sense, soak back in to this body right now, because this body is where not just your life, but it's where life lives, not in the head, in the body. So we're dropping down from the head back into that aliveness. Okay, and then we start to feel alive once more. So the shortcut to living in the present moment is to drop back into your body. But actually, there isn't a present moment that we are trying to get into. Now, people sometimes say, you know, sometimes I'm in the present moment, sometimes I'm out of the present moment. Actually, your body is the present moment. You never experience the moment, you never experience anything without your body. So it's your body that is the present moment experience. It's not out there. It's your body. So when you come back to your body, you're stepping into the present moment. Your body is the present moment. So if you can get good at being with your body when it's pleasant, when it's unpleasant, when it's nice, when it's difficult, that's your life training. Your life training is not out there, it's being with this body. So in that way, in mindfulness and in you know, meditation, they talk about having a teacher or a guru, or, you know, walking the path, or being part of a tradition. Your body is the teacher. Your body is the path. Your body is the goal. Okay? Your body is tailor-made for your own development. I've got this body. Okay? You've got your body. It's different. We're both having our own present moment experience here. Mine is mine and yours is yours. So I've got to work with what I've got to work with, and you've got to work with what you've got to work with. Okay, so this body is your own teacher. Okay, and it goes its own way. It does its own thing. You know, the body has its own intelligence, and it goes in its own direction. So last week, I was talking about the mind, and I was talking about how we assume that we are in control of the mind, when actually we're not. We're not in control of the mind. We're not in control of thoughts. We can respond, yes, but we're not in control of thoughts in the first place, because if we were, we'd only have happy thoughts all the time. We'd never have any negative thoughts, because we're in control. Because we're not in control, we don't have that power. Thoughts just happen. If we're not in control of the mind, do we think we're in control of the body? Do we think we're in control of our emotions? Well, we can test that. If we are in control of our emotions, let's say, then we'd only have happy, uplifted emotions, wouldn't we? Because we're in control. We issue the command and the emotions obey. Is that your experience? That you wake up in the morning, you command how your emotions will be that day? No, no, emotions just happen. They come and they go. We get triggered all the time by different things. Sensations, so, pleasant, unpleasant, neutral, intense pain, intense pleasure. Are we in command of that? Can we choose not to experience pain and sadness and grief? Can we exert that command? No, we can't. They just happen due to circumstances, and they come and they go. The body itself, okay, this vehicle, that we call me, are we in complete control of it? Complete command of the body? Well, no, we're not, because if we were, we would never get ill. We just choose not to get ill. We would never age. We would choose not to age. We would stay 20. We would stay, good looking, healthy, fit. The truth is, neither your sensations, emotions, or your body itself is under your command. It's its own thing. Okay, it's going its own way. It walks its own path. And what we do is resist it. We fight back against the body. We don't want to get old. We don't want to get ill. Of course we don't. Of course we don't. But we try and push the body back in the other direction. Rather than just go with the flow of aging, of shifting experience, we try to, resist and repress and stay as one thing. And that's where much of our frustration comes from. Trying to stay as one thing. Well, we can't. So the other option is to stop thinking about the body all the time, our ideas about who we are and how the body should look and how I should feel, and just drop down into this raw flow. That's the other option. Because we may think about the body, but we don't really know the body. We don't really know the body. We have ideas about the body. We don't really know emotions. We have ideas about emotions. And we experience the body and the emotions through those ideas. They're like filters. So for instance, it's not often that we experience pure sensation. So let's take pain. So pure pain is when you burn yourself by accident. You don't even have to think about it, and your hand is withdrawn. And there's just that sheer burn. It's just pure. There's no story that comes up because it's too quick. That's pure pain. The kind of pain we tend to experience, and this is with all other emotions, is yes, there's the raw sensation of pain or sadness or grief or happiness, but it's intermingled with a story, a concept, a narrative, a past and a future, a mental image, a voice in our head. Okay? So we're never really with pain itself. We're with a whole drama. What's going to happen because of this pain? So we don't really have these clear perceptions. They are muddied and fogged by this kind of internal dialogue that happens, okay, which makes us suffer more. Now we've not just got the actual physical pain, we've actually got psychological drama on top. And you add those together, and there's your suffering right there. Okay, even if you could just experience pain as pain, Yes, it still hurts. Yes, it's still unpleasant, but at least it doesn't have that extra 50% of psychological suffering on top. So we think we know the body, but we don't really. Okay, and when we drop down into the body, we realize that it's not what we think. A thought about the body is not the body. Instead, what we find is a flow, a flux of activity, of sensefulness, of aliveness, because your body is a process. It's a living, flowing process, like a river. Okay, it doesn't stop. It's not fixed. It's a process. In fact, the word process means going forward. So this body is always going forward. So it's never the same. We have our sensations and emotions and experiences, and we think it's the same. It's just the same sadness. It's the same hand again, moment to moment. I'm the same me again, moment to moment. But that's like looking at the sea and the waves and saying, well, that's the same wave as before. And there's another wave, and that's the same wave. Well, no, they may look similar, but they're all different waves. So in a sense, you are made of waves. You are made of momentary, fleeting sensations which come and go. Okay, you're an ocean. Sensations can't stay still. They can't get stuck. They're not made of anything that gets stuck. No sensation you've ever experienced lasted. No emotion you've ever experienced lasted. Okay, emotions, they come and they go. Even the most intense emotions come and go. The clue there is in the word emotion. Emotion, there's movement. Motion. Okay, emotions are movement. And the more we can allow ourselves to fully feel them as raw perceptions rather than with all the psychological narrative, they pass quicker, they ease, they soften, they melt. We reintegrate them back into the body. Okay, I find it interesting that much of mindfulness, the way it's advertised and talked about, it's billed as a practice to make you happy and calm and serene, and it will do that. But they leave out the grit, the obstacles, the challenges. In Tibetan Buddhism, in the iconography there, you can see images of the Buddha, and he's meditating under the Bodhi tree. And around him are ogres and demons and monsters and beasts and dragons and serpents and all kinds of terrifying figures. And it's not meant to be literal, of course. They represent what we find in the body, and they represent what we find in the mind. Okay, the body is not an easy place to be for anybody, let alone if we're working with chronic pain or trauma or grief or something like that. Okay, but we can learn how to work with it, and that's what we're going to do in a minute. So it's not just about sitting there and being serene and just putting a big heavy lid on the body. It's about dropping back down into the body with sensefulness and re-experiencing yourself, not as a stuck object, but as a flow of sensation, of emotion. Okay, that's what we experience ourselves as. Okay, a river, the river of life itself. And the more you tune into that, contacting the fizz and the buzz and the tingle and the pulse of this river called you, the more you feel alive, because it's your own aliveness that you're tuning into. You don't need a cup of extra strong espresso to wake you up, to feel alive. You don't need to drink, 10 pints to feel alive. Just stop. Okay, just drop down into this body that is teeming with aliveness. There are trillions of atoms that make you up right now in this moment, trillions of them. The potential energy of one atom is huge, immense. So your potential energy on this chair is ineffable. I can't even convey how powerful you are on this chair right now. But we don't feel it because we've lost touch with it, literally. We're out of touch with ourselves. And ourselves is never just this image in our head of me. It's your full embodied experience. When you look at me and I look at you, I don't see a floating head above a body and you're the head. I see one thing. There's one being, one event. You are one. You are always one. You may feel divided, but the reality is you're not. Okay? The ancient analogy for this is that our physical experience, thoughts, sensations, emotions, are like waves. Waves come and go. Okay? No wave gets stuck. No wave gets fixed. Every wave arises and returns to the ocean. Now, the other day I was in the Glen with our kids, and my little boy threw a stone, as he does, into the river. And for a moment, I was just mesmerized by the way in which it was a big stone. It was a big stone that he threw into the river, so it made a big splash. There was a big reaction. But the reaction didn't last, of course. The wave came up, the splash. And then within 2 or 3 seconds, the pond, the part of the river that was still, had just returned to this unbreakable mirror-like stillness. It had just absorbed and integrated the splash and returned to how it was before. So we can be that space. We can be that stillness. We can rediscover the body as a place of safety and refuge and nourishment and stillness and space. And then we can start to experience the aches and the pains and the difficulties from that space. And then they're allowed to come and go like waves, like ripples. Okay, they arise from within us. We let them arise. We let them return. We don't need to bite into them. We don't need to jump into them as who and what we are. Okay? So we let the mind just be the mind. Let thoughts come and go. You don't have to identify with them. They're just thoughts. Use the useful, let the rest self-destruct. It's the same with the body and emotion and sensations. We don't need to tie ourselves to this body. This is definitely what I am and it has to stay like this. Well, it's not going to. It's not stayed the same yet. Think how many bodies you've had. We tend to think, oh, it's all me. Well, you had a toddler's body and you had a 10-year-old's body and you had a 20-year-old's body. You had last week's body. You've got this moment's body. But this body is a process moving forward. So it's never, ever the same moment to moment. You are not something that gets stuck. That in itself is a kind of freedom. Okay. There's a famous Zen story that I like, and it's about the student who's very angry, and he walks up to the master and he says, "I have a problem with anger." And so the master says, "Okay, can you show me the anger right now?" And the student's confused, and he says, "No, I can't because I don't feel angry right now. There's nothing that's making me angry." And so the teacher says, "Okay, well, forget about it. It's not yours. It's not something that you're in control of. So just forget about it. It's just anger. It's not something that's within your control. It's just anger. You don't need to pick it up. You don't need to identify with it. It's just another sensation passing through the body. Let it." In my own experience of this is that the more we allow those rocks to splash into the pond without identifying with it, the more we become like a lightning rod. Okay, so you know what a lightning rod is on a building, on a roof. When it gets struck by lightning, how long does lightning stay in the rod for? It's just straight through and then grounded. Okay, so through the practice of being in the body, of rediscovering the body, we become lightning rods. You still feel. Now, actually, you feel things more intensely because you're experiencing them more clearly without that drama in your head. So life becomes very raw and sharp and clear and vivid. And you feel more. Sadness is sadder. Happiness is more happy. It just doesn't last. It just doesn't get stuck in the rod. Okay, so you feel more, but it just doesn't trouble you. Okay, everything just becomes grounded. You just return or rest as that space. Okay, so we'll do a practice now. Okay, just to allow us to drop down from the head into the body. So this is a body scan practice, and I'm sure lots of you have done this before. And there's three benefits to this practice, really. Okay, the first one is that it's just deeply relaxing, and actually that's important because many of us in this culture have literally forgotten how to relax. And I'm not talking about, just lying on the couch or taking a hot bath. I'm talking about a depth of relaxation that is uncommon. Deep physical stillness, kind of unifying with your body in stillness. So that's the first thing we can do, is learn how to relax. Okay, rather than holding ourselves up, we let everything follow gravity, drop down, soften, melt, relax. There's the space there. There's no space in tension, so we open up. This is why actually this practice is really good for bedtime or as a sleep hygiene practice. So every night when I go to bed, this is the first thing I do. Rather than stay in my mind, I put my attention into my feet. And then I move up through the body, just soaking myself in awareness, becoming fully aware of my toes, my feet, my legs, my hands, meeting it all, giving space to it all, deep relaxation. And for me, it ensures a deep sleep, deep, nourishing sleep. And for many of us, even just having that would improve our lives. So this is a good way to ensure deep, restful sleep. The second one is we become more present in the body. Okay, we become more present in the body, which means that actually your body is your perfect practice. So when you're walking down the street, be in your body. When you're in your car, be in your body. When you're washing the dishes, be in your body. Feel, sense, use your senses. Feel, see, taste. Okay? Don't go into your head in those stories. Be fully present to your perceptions. So this is why your body is the perfect practice. It's everywhere you go, there's your body. You're not separate from it, for a moment. So your body was your perfect mindfulness practice in disguise. Okay. So then you develop a quality of presence. People say that certain leaders have a quality of presence. They were very present. So we're not living in a very distracted way anymore. If someone asks you a question, you're there. If you need to clean the dishes, you're there. Okay. That's presence. And the third reason is something I've already mentioned, which is practices like the body scan are amazing ways to work with everything we find in the body. All the reasons we're not in the body, tension, illness, grief, trauma. It's a really good way just to start to reintegrate ourselves into the body and metabolize, soak up all the experience we find there. Okay, becoming whole, becoming healed once more. Okay, so I'll lead us through a practice then. Again, we'll do this one sat upright. Okay, so you might want to shift into a posture where you're sitting upright on the chair or cushion, feet on the floor. Okay, you can close your eyes for this practice. It is often just deeply relaxing. So you might find yourself feeling sleepy or drowsy. I can't stop that. But if you wanted to wake up again, you could straighten up or just even kind of half open the eyes. Okay. Other than that, there's no right answer. We're just going to move through the body, just bringing an awareness to what we find. Okay. So all you have to do is listen. So for this practice, we're going to use our attention like a spotlight. And to begin with, we're going to direct that spotlight down into your big toes. So feeling into your big toes, focusing your attention into the big toes. Can you find your big toes? And if you can, just notice how they feel in this moment. Do they fizz or buzz? Are they numb? It's almost like you're listening in to the sensations there. Staying with the big toes. From the big toes, now let's just shift into all of the toes. Okay, so soaking in now, soaking into your toes. Fully present, fully awake in the toes. Okay, do they come alive when you do that? And then from the toes, we're going to shift into both feet. Okay, so feeling into your feet on the floor. Try to experience the feet from the inside. Okay, can you feel the aliveness there? Do they fizz or buzz? Is there a pulse? Are they hot or cold? Fully awake in the feet. From the feet, let's shift up into your lower legs, okay? So feeling into your ankles and ankle joints. What do you notice there? Are they vivid or vague? Feeling into your calf muscles. Are they soft and at ease? Are they tight? And soaking into your shin bones. So bone is alive. Bone is a living thing. So do your shin bones feel alive? Take a look, feel in, soak in. And then shifting up into both knees. Okay, soaking into your knees. Does the left knee feel different to the right knee? Are the knees tense? Are they in pain? Do they feel still or at peace? What do you notice? And then from the knees, we'll shift up into the thighs. So up into your upper legs. Notice the contact with the chair or cushion. And we'll just start with the skin. So notice the sensations on the skin. Then dropping into the muscle. What do the thigh muscles feel like? Then see if you can drop into the flowing sensations in the thighs. Anything that's pulsing or moving, fizzing or tingling. Can you rest with that flow? You might notice that that flow of aliveness doesn't have a story. It doesn't tell you something. It doesn't plan for the future or regret the past. Your thighs are just a silent river of aliveness. From the thighs, let's shift into the pelvis and hips, noticing your bum on the chair or cushion. And just dropping our awareness into the pelvis. Okay, fully awake in the pelvis. What's the experience of the pelvis right now? What does the pelvis know? And then shifting up into the belly. Okay, so find your belly. Just drop down into it, just as you find it. How does your belly feel in this moment? So it may feel soft, relaxed, spacious. Or it could feel scrunched, tight, tense. There could be emotion there. You could be hungry or full. We tend to feel so much in the belly. It's not just for food. So it makes sense then to get to know how to be with the belly. So just rest your attention there. What's it like to be with the belly without any resistance whatsoever? Just let the belly happen. From the belly, next we can shift the focus up and into the center of the chest. Okay, so you can start by finding your heart and your heartbeat. This is another place we tend to feel emotion. Another place we feel triggered. So the center of the heart, sometimes called the heart center, it could feel open, spacious, relaxed. It could feel closed, scrunched, tight, numb, cold. Again, just drop your attention into the center of the chest. Fully alert to the sensations or emotions we find there. Again, offering no resistance to those experiences. Is there any space within or around the heart center? Is there any silence within or around the heart center? What can you find? Just let it be felt. And from the heart center, next we're going to shift up and into the neck and the throat. Another place we tend to feel emotion, often stopping the emotion here, repressing it, resisting it. So the throat might feel calm, relaxed. You can have a sore throat, or there may be emotion there, it could feel tight or constricting. Again, just dropping your awareness into the throat, let it rest there, awake, no resistance. Allow the throat to be fully felt. From the throat, now we're going to drop down into both shoulders. Okay, so soaking down into your shoulders. What's the first thing you notice about the shoulders? So they could feel soft, dropped, relaxed, calm, pleasant. If so, just drop into it, soaking into the shoulders as if you're soaking into a hot bath. Or they could feel tight, tense, solid, painful. If so, the same rule applies. Just soak into it, relax. That's like soaking into a cold bath, just relax. If you tense against tension, you've just doubled the tension. If you can relax and make space, well, then it can soften, melt, metabolize. So we've moved up the front of the body. Now we'll move up the back and the spine. So just see if you can drop your awareness down into the base of your spine. You can feel your bum on the chair just as a start point. And just in your own time, see if you can travel up the length of your spine, fully aware, moving through each vertebrae if possible. And then coming to rest between the shoulder blades. Okay, now shift into the shoulder blades themselves. How does that feel? Can you go inside? And then shifting into the muscles around the shoulder blade, so a bigger area now, the upper back, including the back of your neck and backs of the shoulders. From the upper back, now we're going to drop down into both arms. So what's happening in your arms right now? Are they still, neutral, silent, at peace? If they are, then don't miss that. Use your arms to soak up that experience of stillness and peace. And then dropping into both hands. Okay. Can you sense that aliveness in the hands? The fizz, the buzz, the pop, the pulse. The flux and flow of your hands as a living process, as a river. Just let it happen. From the hands, now we're going to move up into the face. So shifting into your jaw. Okay, soak into the jaw. Does the jaw want to drop or soften? Does your tongue want to drop, soften? And then just expanding into the whole of the face, okay? Resting in the face, being fully present in your own face. And let the face just drop and rest and relax. Let it return to that innocent expression that we have in deep sleep, where there is no me and there is no world to fight with. Okay, let your face return to that expression of innocence. And then expanding into the whole of your head. Okay, aware of your head, your scalp, the back of the head. Okay, just be fully aware of the head. And it's almost as if you're just watching the head happen. Okay, now we're just going to expand that back down into the whole of the body. Okay, re-experiencing yourself as one event, one whole, a complete experience, from your toes to your head, from your bones to your skin. One living process, a flow of intelligence. Okay, now we're not looking for any parts of the body to focus on. Just let sounds and thoughts and emotions and sensations, just let it all wash through you. Just remain aware. And as you're doing that, maybe you can also start to ride and feel that flow of aliveness. Anything in the body that feels like it's tingling, buzzing, pulsing. It could be in your hands and feet. It could be the whole of your body. Where do you find that aliveness? Just resting with that. Okay. Well done, everybody. So you might want to wiggle your fingers and toes. In your own time, you can just slowly open your eyes. Okay, take a look around the room. You can move, stretch, change position if you need to. Okay, so that was just a fairly simple body scan practice, just to re-experience yourself. Okay, yourself as your body, not just as your head. You are much more than your head. Okay, so we're just dropping out of the head and we're re-experiencing the body. And the more we do that, the more we spend time rediscovering the body, it begins to feel more vivid and alive and tangible. And that current of aliveness wakes up and we feel alive. Okay, we feel like we're plugged in to the main socket. Okay, where's the main socket? It's this body. It's this body. Okay, so you start to live more as the body, less as a concept in your head. Okay, so thank you so much for spending the time to sit with me today and explore this practice. I hope it's useful. If you go onto my website, which is mikekewley.com, you'll find a long list of different kinds of practices, including the body scan practice there for you to explore in your own time. Okay, so thanks once again. Thanks to Bright Life for hosting these sessions, and I look forward to seeing you all next week. Okay, thank you, everybody. Have a good week. Bye-bye.